Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. You know where I was on Friday? I was on Watts Bar Lake, had a great time with a couple of my old high school buddies, Kent Bailey, Kevin Cantrell. I'm now dropping names like Chuck Cavaleris. It just brought it home to me again, though, that there's no better way to beat the heat than by boating. That goes for this summer, that goes for next summer, the summer after that. Do yourself a favor and check out the enormous selection of boats at Madisonville Marine. Such a huge selection, great deals. There's no better place to buy a boat. All right, want to welcome in the next member of our panel down there, Jimmy Hyams, who yanked the mic away from Chuck in that last segment when he tried to speak for Jimmy. Jimmy, of course, the host of Sports Talk on Sports Radio WNML. Jimmy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right. Got quite a bit of play this week, especially in the Tennessean. The Tennessean's really been hitting the University of Tennessee Athletic Department football program pretty hard over the 6 sexual assault accusations that have been lodged against against players in the program over the last few years, over last year's roster, actually 6 players. So it was announced this week that the federal government has launched an investigation into the University of Tennessee into sexual violence at the university. It's the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. They started the probe on June 29th. You read this whole story, then you get to the last paragraph, and it points out, well, yeah, there are 121 schools being looked at for the same thing, which takes a little bit of the feel off of it. And then you realize it's not just the football program either. Jimmy, has this thing it was sort of presented as one thing, and a lot of people took it as, oh my goodness, they're coming after the football program. That's really not the fear, I don't believe.
No, and the thing that you read was, as you touched on, the 6 football players from last year's team had been involved somewhere or the other. The fact that you've got 121 schools that are being looked at by the feds makes you realize that Tennessee isn't the only place where there's an issue. But anybody that could file a complaint, that is going to lead probably to some type of a probe by the federal government. So you had a complaint in May, I think, that was lodged. I didn't realize that Title IX encompassed doing investigations on sexual assaults until recently. That was something new to me, but that's a part of it. If you don't embark on an investigation quickly enough, then they will look into why you didn't do this, why you didn't do that, and that's, I think, one of the allegations against Tennessee.
And I think it's going to be, to me, that's more of a societal issue. We've discussed this before in our overtime segments, I think, on the show as well. There's been a societal change. You're seeing more sexual abuse cases, it seems, on a lot of college campuses, which, again, that's why you're investigating 121 schools. Guys, thoughts on this, the presentation of it? I mean, again, if you read the Tennessean, their article is football, 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 and literally the last paragraph, oh, by the way, there are 136 investigations into 121 schools. Do you think Vol football fans should be worried in any way, shape, or form about this? Other than, obviously, it's a serious issue, and obviously you don't want Tennessee, the school, to get involved. But for football, I don't see any real panic mode here for anybody.
No, I think it's the kind of worry that you have anytime anybody's looking at anything. I mean, is it nothing? No. But is it a big deal? No. But somewhere in the back of your mind, you got to think, well, people who investigate things get paid to find stuff. Ted Wells and NFL and Deflategate. So a little bit, just a little smidgen.
Thoughts?
I had not seen the Tennessean story. The story we ran and everywhere else I'd seen, it was clear it was not just football. So,
yeah, and thank goodness the last paragraph wasn't cut. I mean, how many times have we had that happen to something that we've written and that last paragraph gets zapped? I mean, that puts it in perspective.
The old inverted pyramid.
Yeah, it really did.
Well, and see, that's one where I don't think it should have been at the bottom.
Exactly.
And you guys didn't put it that way.
Yeah. And hadn't the Tennessean reported some things ahead of even the News Sentinel in terms of we're going to wait until charges have been filed or something?
Well, they jumped on one that was a walk-on player was the one that they really hammered home, and I don't believe that there were no charges to the police. It was an on-campus. They dealt with it on campus, which to me, again, if this is my daughter, I'm calling the cops. We're not handling this on campus matters anyway. So that whole thing was a little bizarre, I thought. But anyway, all right. Another week's gone by. Speaking of the sexual assault accusations, another week's gone by. Vaughn Pearson, still no news. Believed to be academically eligible if he gets cleared with the off-field stuff. But you're getting to the point now where you're going to start cutting into practice time here in a couple weeks. That just does not look like a great situation. Jimmy, any thoughts on Vaughn Pearson? And whether we talked about it a little last week. Your thoughts? Do you think he's on the team this year?
I don't know, John. It's hard to predict ongoing investigations, and that's what the KPD has, an ongoing investigation. It goes to the district attorney's office. We know how long it took A.J. Johnson and Michael Williams before they finally came down with an indictment on that one. So I don't know how to predict that. I was told that there were still more interviews that they had to do. I don't understand why that process takes as long as it does, but without knowing when the end of it's going to be, I don't know what to say on whether he's going to be back or not.
And that's one of those things that sports fans, they get frustrated by how long it takes, but at the same time, this is a serious accusation. If there's truth here, then take all the time you need to get to the bottom of it, I think. But it is frustrating from a football fan perspective.
I don't think it's taking a long time because he's an athlete either. I think if anybody's ever been involved in any kind of litigation or investigation,
sometimes
it takes a long time.
Sometimes it takes longer when they're an athlete because it's more high profile.
Yeah. Very quickly, I want to put up a graphic here. Michigan announced this week that they have a new deal with Nike. This deal will be worth $169. It can be. There's an option for the last 4 years. Could be worth $169 million through the year 2027. By comparison, Tennessee will be paid about $35 million through 2023. The Michigan deal is the richest deal in college sports history. Jimmy, Michigan getting paid more than Tennessee. What did Tennessee tell you was the reason for that?
Tennessee told me that Tennessee has 300,000 alums and Michigan has over 1 million.
Little difference.
And that helps explain a lot. There was a thinking that, Michigan sponsors more sports. And the UT officials said that had nothing to do with it. It has to do with the number of alumni and the anticipating sales because of that.
And doesn't a lot of that go back to the enrollment too? I mean, MTSU passed Tennessee in terms of undergrad enrollment. What does Michigan have?
Those Big Ten schools are all over 40, and some of them are up around 50,000. So
your alumni
much bigger.
It's much faster. Yeah.
Well, you look at it by those figures, it would be about 3 times the number of alumni. And you multiply the Vols, what they're making, and throw in 4 more years like Michigan did, the numbers would be about the same. So that is an interesting situation. But if you see that Michigan thing, it's like, why is Tennessee not making as much? It's because Tennessee doesn't have the alumni base that Michigan does. All right, when we come back, a lot of predictions made this week at SEC Media Days, not only Tennessee second, but also 4 Vols on the All-SEC team. Other thing, kind of a bizarre deal on who was picked to win the West, the East, and the league. We'll discuss all that coming up next on The Sports Source.
From East Tennessee to the Carolinas, no job is too big for Benedict Construction. Patios and decks, custom remodels, even custom homes. With a reputation for excellence, rely on the custom work of Benedict Construction.